Hello everyone, it's Dr. Manjiri Nadkarni, Ayurvedic MD, registered holistic nutritionist, back today for day 68 of 100 Days of Ayurveda. We are also on day 2 in the series of adrenal health. So, if you haven't checked out my first video on adrenal health, where I discuss different symptoms and different signs that your stress glands are not functioning well, go back on my page, check out video number 1, and then you can see that what are some signs that you're having issues with your stress glands. Is it your stress glands that are not making you lose that excess weight that you've gathered, or though you're trying so hard, or is it your stress glands that are keeping you from getting tons of energy, right? So that's one thing to realize. Hello Uttamji, nice to see you. Belated happy birthday. I saw it was your birthday yesterday. I was going to wish you and then I got totally distracted, so belated happy birthday, Uttamji. So if you are watching this live, please put a hashtag as um, you know live, or just say hi. If you are watching this live, if you watch this as a replay, put a hashtag as replay. At any point of time, if you have any questions for me, feel free to just ask your questions here and I'll be more than happy to answer. Hello Ushaji, nice to see you. So today we are going to talk about stress hormones. We're going to talk about the hormones that are secreted by your stress glands, which are adrenaline or epinephrine, noradrenaline, norepinephrine, and we're also going to talk about cortisol. I won't get into super technicalities. I'll try to keep it simple, easier to understand, and I'll also talk to you about the best ways to test for this hormones, or how to get tested, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, and how do I carry out testing in my practice. So when we talk about our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight flight system, right? So in the olden days, we would see a tiger, we would see a bear, we would get some life threat, our stress system would just get triggered in the body, and it would not focus. Our body didn't have to focus on digestion at that time. It just wanted to keep us safe, right? So our body just wanted to run as fast as it could to escape from the animals, or to find all the strength in our extremities and fight it out, or just freeze but pretend dead, right? So that's what our body did, to keep us safe, and that's what our body still does to keep us safe, right? But the problem is that the tigers and the bears in the olden days are replaced by being late to an assignment, or some work stress, or a boss expecting too much, or your family expecting too much, or running after kids. So there could be different stressors that can stress you out. There could be certain physical stressors. If you are fasting for a long time, if you are not eating, right? If you're skipping meals, if your eating is all over the place, that's going to create a stressor on your body. If you're not sleeping at night, if you're watching Netflix, if you're binging on seasons of Netflix, whether you're watching like Sacred Games or Narcos or whatever it is, and especially something that's violent, right? Especially if you're watching something that's stressful, that's violent, if you're watching everything where people are killing each other, and then your stress glands are getting fired, right? When you watch something happy, that's going to make you calm down and feel a little bit happy. But if you're watching Criminal Minds, and I used to love Criminal Minds, I used to watch it all the time because of the suspense, and it makes you think. But it can be pretty scary, and that itself can trigger your stress system, right? So when you're looking at a lot of violence, when you're starting to worry about it, right? So that itself can trigger your stress system, whether it's emotional stress, any relationship stress, work stress, financial stress, stress related to kids, what they are doing, are they eating well or not? So in today's world, everything is just triggering our stress, and we are not taking time to de-stress, right? So the COVID quarantine, which was supposed to give everybody a break that they always needed, right? So all our lives we've been wanting a break, we've been wanting to maybe stay at home and not have to go out, right? But a lot of the times, and I know this is an unnatural situation, but people are still extremely stressed, and that has to be taken care of. And if you don't take care of your stress, that's when you keep secreting these hormones in your system, and they're going to wreak a havoc on your body. So how they impact your body, we've spoken about in video 1. So I'll be posting the video 1 link sometime later after I'm done with the session, so you can access it easily. So today we are talking about the stress hormones, right? So the first one is what we know as the fight flight hormone, and that's also known as adrenaline or epinephrine, right? So it is a hormone that's produced by our stress glands or adrenal glands that sit on top of your kidney. And as soon as your brain tells you that something is not quite right, you are perceiving some kind of threat, right? And it might not be an actual threat to your life, but you're perceiving it as a threat, you're perceiving it as fear, you're perceiving it as a stressor. So being late to work is not going to be threatening to your life, right? But you're perceiving that as a real stressor, and that totally can make your body pump a lot of adrenaline in your system, right? So adrenaline, also known as epinephrine, is something that's pumped into the system, and it's mainly responsible for that immediate rush that you get, right? Where you just want to run away, and suddenly your heart starts pounding, your muscles become really tense, you start breathing much faster, you may start sweating, so you get that rush to either fight or react or run away, right? So that's the fight flight response that's coming from your adrenaline, right? So your heart rate is going to increase, and also you get this burst of energy suddenly, right? So which you might require had you faced a situation where you were stressing, where you were seeing an animal and you actually had a life threat, right? So this is what adrenaline does, right? And it also helps focus your attention. Now there is another hormone that's similar to adrenaline, known as noradrenaline or norepinephrine, right? And it's also secreted mainly from your stress glands via your brain signaling. And when you are stressed, this is the hormone that makes you more awake, makes you more focused, makes you more aware, right? Suddenly your senses are all heightened, and you're hearing more than before you've ever heard. You become suddenly really alert, you're way more responsive. So this hormone, what it also does is it's going to shift your blood flow from certain areas like your skin, where you're not needing the blood flow right now, to your muscles, because you will need your muscles to run away, right? So in case you have to run, you will need those muscles to either run or fight it out. So that's why noradrenaline is getting secreted, and that's what it's also giving you, right? So they both work together, and they try to save you from whatever catastrophe is going to occur. So hi Vibha, nice to see you. So this is what though both these stress hormones do. We spoke about adrenaline, we spoke about noradrenaline. Now the third thing we are going to talk about is something called cortisol, right? And cortisol is commonly known as the stress hormone, right? Or the stress hormone. And again, it is produced by your adrenal glands, right? So this takes a little more time. So it's not as instant as adrenaline or noradrenaline. This is actually going to take a little more time, few minutes to get secreted, right? And it's kind of a multi-step process. So your brain is going to signal, um, your hypothalamus, like to secrete what's known as corticotropin releasing hormone. From there, right, that's going to tell the pituitary to release something called ACTH, and the ACTH is going to send the signal to your stress glands to produce cortisol. So it's like a two-step thing, so it undergoes like 3 steps rather. There's multiple steps, right? So it takes a little bit time to secrete this cortisol, and this is also something that can save your life, right? So it helps maintain your fluid balance, it helps maintain your blood pressure, uh, so it's not going to focus when your body is under stress. It's not going to focus on digestion. It's not going to focus on growth or immunity, but it's going to focus on keeping you alive, right? And that's what cortisol typically does. And usually, if you have too much cortisol in your system, so under normal functions, when you have good, you need cortisol, to be able to help your body, when you're not stressing, right? Because it can help repair, it can help regulate blood sugar when you need that excess sugar and stuff, right? So in regular amounts, we have different cortisol receptors in the body that do a lot of function, so cortisol can help with different regulations. But if you're secreting too much cortisol, a few signs are, that weight gain we talked about, right? So mainly around the midsection, mainly around upper back. If you have a lot of back fat, or if you have a lot of weight around your midsection, you are secreting too much cortisol. If you have weight gain and if your face is getting puffy and rounded and you're retaining a lot more water as well, it's coming from too much cortisol, right? Any kind of acne, if your skin is bruising easily and your skin is thinning easily, if you're getting that flushed face, if you're healing, so if you get a cut on your body and your body doesn't seem to heal as fast, it's because of high cortisol, right? So these are a few signs and symptoms that, your cortisol is being secreted too much. So whether it's your muscles getting weak or you're getting severe fatigue where you're getting exhausted, if you have difficulty concentrating, if you have, high blood pressure, so these are all effects of a high cortisol, right? And high cortisol can create lots of issues for you, including the symptoms that we mentioned. And that is why you should be keeping your stress in check, because even though you take supplements, even though you take everything, unless you keep your stress in check, unless you have an actual plan where you are managing your stress well, it might not work really well for a long time. Hi, Iti, nice to see you. So Uttamji is saying, fortunately, we don't have Netflix now. TV is only for regular news, comedy. Okay, religious and Indian historical. Okay, no crime patrol anymore. Very occasionally Saas Bahu shows. No, that's good, because not just with Netflix, but if you look, like when this COVID situation started, right? And it is very true. Like, it's scary. It's not as easy, when we saw what was happening in Italy, we saw what was happening in Spain, and now we can see what's happening in India. I've been speaking to my friends. Most of my friends, are practicing in India as Ayurvedic doctors. So some of them are in the public health sector as well. So every time we would discuss, it would be extremely stressful, because you have family there, you worry about everyone, right? You worry about everybody's safety, everybody's security. So it is a stressful situation. So it's not always related to Netflix, but also sometimes we are habituated to stressing over things. Even before COVID, I would see so many clients who say they are worriers. They would always worry about their kids, whether the kids are 40-year-olds or 50-year-olds, because it's like, it's your maternal or paternal instincts, and it's something you've always done, cared for your kids, right? But you have to understand when to back off a little bit and take care of yourself. And that's extremely important when we talk about stress management, because a lot of the time, and especially women, I can talk about women because I see a lot of women in my practice. So about 90% of my clientele is women. And for some reason, women need to get that permission to take care of themselves. And if you are somebody waiting for that permission, I'm giving you the permission, take care of yourself, because it is somehow ingrained in our minds to look after everyone, look after our families, our kids, and your husband and extended family, your friends, and being the nurturer. Your own health takes a back seat. So being a grandma, you'll always care about your grandkids and your children, but you might not look at your own health. And that is something you have to take care. You have to, as long as you have your body, you have to be very diligent to protect it, to nourish it really well, so you can really, like whatever you're aiming for, whether it's your spiritual life or whether you're looking to spend time with your grandchildren, unless you have good physical health, you might be too tired for them, you might not be able to play with them, right? So whatever your reasons are, come back to your own health, just ground a little bit and really try to see what's stressing you out, right? And that's something. So if you stop this stress cycle, you're not going to secrete this excess cortisol in your body, and that won't create a lot of issues for your body then. But if you constantly are stressed, if you're constantly having this excess cortisol in your system, you're not going to be very healthy for a long time, because it creates a lot of issues for your body as well, right? So let's talk a little bit more about testing for cortisol, because this is something that I do very commonly in my practice too. So we do a very simple urine test. So if you are based in Sarnia especially, I can do the urine test, which is called a K test. It's very simple. We take a few drops of urine, we'll take a few drops of a certain reagent, and we can see if your stress glands are over functioning or under functioning, right? So we don't get the exact hormonal numbers with the urine test, but we get a rough idea. And if you want to go much further, right, and especially I'm talking about this for women, if you've tried everything for your menopause but nothing seems to work, or if you've tried everything for your weight, nothing seems to work, if you've tried everything for your thyroid but nothing seems to work, your stress glands could be malfunctioning, right? And that is probably throwing everything off. So this is something that I've seen in my practice when I see a lot of people try different strategies. They're trying this supplement, they're trying that supplement, they're trying different bioidentical hormones, and those don't seem to work either. We always have to go back and look at your stress glands, right? And getting the numbers, getting tested is a really good thing, because then for sure, then we're not guessing, we are not taking any wild guesses, we are making educated decisions, right? And informed decisions. So that's something to realize. So the kind of testing that I personally like for any kind of stress hormones or stress glands is salivary testing, because salivary testing is pretty accurate. It's non-invasive, so you don't have to do any pinprick. You can just spit at different times in the tubes, and we could get those tested. And typically what happens with cortisol is it typically follows a curve. So cortisol is the highest in the morning, and it keeps declining as the day continues, right? So sometimes there could be fluctuations in these, like in the curvature. And either if you have sustained high levels or if you have extremely low levels, right, then we see there's an imbalance in your adrenal function, right? So this is something that's extremely important to understand that. And we could also test for a ratio between cortisol and something known as DHEA or the DHEAS. So DHEA, hydroepiandrosterone, it's one of the master hormones, and it secretes a lot of it's kind of the master hormone that can make your male and female hormones, and it's also known as the anti-aging hormone. So if you have an imbalance in the ratio, that can create some issues for your body as well. And when we talk about your cortisol, when we talk about how what numbers are, or when we talk about if is your cortisol high or low, it can give you a really good understanding that if, like, what's going on in your body. So an example is low cortisol. If it's low all the time, right, it could be caused by a lot of stress. So if you're having sleep deprivation, if you're having like any nutrient deficiencies, if you're having a lot of emotional stress, poor diet, that's all going to deplete and lower your cortisol as well, right? And that's when you're getting those aches and pains. That's when you're getting like muscle aches, that's when you feel extremely cold, you're losing a lot of stamina. You might get increased allergies as well, because your immune function is lowered as well. So these are a few things, we can definitely get those tested. And testing is like a really good approach to go about it, right? So again, if you're having high cortisol, what can happen is um, there's a breakdown of a lot of tissues. So I see a lot of women, especially with dieting or crash dieting, they end up losing a lot of muscle mass, right? You're ending up losing a lot of muscles as well as bone because you're not eating well, you're doing some crash diets, and then suddenly you start getting this belly fat. So your body is under a lot of stress. That's what we can understand from that. We also see that your immune system gets lowered, that you're catching colds out there, right? So these are also signs that your cortisol is extremely high, and it can also create more sleep disturbances. It can create fatigue, it can create a lot of anxiety or depression, or also weight gain, so even things like premature aging, can happen if your skin is losing your texture, if your skin feels like it's sagging, it's getting really dry, or suddenly you start looking like 10 years older, right? That also is a sign that your stress glands are out of balance and you need to do something to be able to balance it. So that's the main thing that I wanted to discuss today. So we've talked about adrenaline a little bit. We've talked about noradrenaline. We've discussed cortisol. What happens when it goes too high? What happens when it goes a bit lower? So we talked about a few signs. And then we also spoke about the best ways to get those tested. So if you are someone who's based in Sarnia, or if you are somebody who's based even in, Ontario, I can definitely get those test kits shipped to you, and just feel free to message me if you are interested in getting tested and we can set up an appointment. I do not offer plain testing without a consultation because there's no point in just getting random tests done. It always has to be done like in a very good way where we are understanding what's going on, and then you're using that information to really focus on healing your body. So we can definitely get that done. So feel free to just message me. And any questions about today, or anything else somebody would like to add about stress or cortisol? Hi, Sejal, nice to see you. So, Sejal, I'm almost finishing my talk today. We are talking about stress glands, and we're talking about certain symptoms that your cortisol is high, and how to test for it. So, that's what we're discussing today. You can also go back to discussing in details about the symptoms of, high stress levels, right? And in the third part of the series, which I will be sharing on Friday evening, I'm going to discuss Ayurvedic stress management. So, Ayurvedic stress management goes way beyond taking pills to support your stress. So, we are going to look into daily routines and certain things to really help comfort your body and balance your body. And these are proven effective ways that you can really, manage your own stress. So, we're going to be discussing that. I don't see any questions, so I think everybody's good for today. I also have a talk coming up on Saturday, so I'll be interviewing Vaidya Gauri Junnarkar, who's a very good friend of mine. She's an Ayurvedic doctor based in the US. She is also a registered dietitian as well as a certified diabetes educator, right? And we're going to discuss with her about balancing your blood sugar. So, for people that have high cortisol, it can also create an increase in blood sugar, right? So, we're also going to discuss how to balance your blood sugar via diet, via lifestyle, and what are some things that you're unknowingly doing that are actually increasing your blood sugar. So, we are going to talk all of that. We're going to discuss all this in a 30-minute interview Saturday at 11 o'clock with Vaidya Gauri Junnarkar, and that will take place on YouTube or inside my Facebook group, Ayurveda for Health and Happiness. So we're going to be discussing this. And yeah, that's all I have for today. I had to take my session indoors. I wanted to do it outside, but my laptop wasn't charged. I totally forgot to charge my laptop. So I had to kind of sit indoors and get this done. And the clinic opens on the 6th. So Monday is when I'm back to my clinic. I'm super happy. It's been such a long time. I really miss my space, and I'm back to my clinic. So if you are local and if you're looking at getting certain tests done, or food sensitivity testing, and everything that I was holding back, like, or holding put on hold, everything gets started back on Monday. So just give me a shout if you need anything. Again, thank you all for watching. Thanks so much for showing up every time when I decide to do a talk. Thank you so much. Your support means a lot to me. I'll be back on Friday and then also on Saturday with two sessions. So Friday is Ayurvedic stress management, and Saturday we're going to share about managing your blood pressure, blood sugar, and how you can, if you have pre-diabetes or if you are suffering from diabetes, certain dietary and lifestyle strategies that can really help you. And we'll be discussing a bit about glycemic index, what it means, and how to kind of make it work for you. So thank you all once again for watching, and have a fantastic night, and I will see you soon. Thanks for now, and bye bye.